She was writing poems of an order which seemed to me quite extraordinary for this century. Not just one a month or one every 2 months, which is what she'd done before. She was writing 2 or 3 a day, as though she'd tapped the motherlode to end all motherlodes of her creativity.
Is there no way out of the mind? This question comes from Sylvia Plath's poem Apprehensions. It captures a common experience shared among creative individuals, the feeling of being trapped within the limitations of the world. Tragic stories of renowned artists like Plath or Van Gogh often come to mind.
There's something inside me, I don't know what it is. What I see nobody else sees, and sometimes it frightens me. I think I'm losing my mind.
Within the creative process, the lines between the exquisite and the repulsive blur. The timeless interlaces with the time-bound, and it becomes a realm where truth and fiction coexist harmoniously on the bleeding edge of possibility. Society finds itself both fearful and captivated by the creations that emerge from these margins. Our appreciation for creativity is evident in the reverence we show innovators like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs. And yet, our fascination with creativity is in direct opposition to society's push for conformity. Essentially, the world hates creativity until it doesn't. And as a result, creativity is relegated to the fringes of society where it must convince the world that it is worthy enough to survive. It's a paradoxical situation where creativity is both embraced and shunned, leaving us to question, I think, the nature of our relationship with this powerful force of expression and innovation.
Bertolt Brecht once remarked that art never comes without consequences. Although it's a shame that society may never wholeheartedly accept creativity, perhaps it's imperative that creative individuals remain outsiders in order for creativity to survive.
¿Qué cree usted que le ha aportado usted al arte en general?
Al arte absolutamente nada.
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 ¿Y a la vida?
Porque no, porque lo digo siempre, soy muy mal pintor por la razón de que soy demasiado inteligente para ser buen pintor. Para ser buen pintor hay que ser un poco burro.
The fringes foster a creative refuge. It's at the margins that one finds the freedom to give voice to the unspoken and to provoke thought.
If anyone comes to the gates of poetry and expects to become an adequate poet by acquiring expert knowledge of the subject without the muse's madness, he will fail, and his self-controlled verses will be eclipsed by the poetry of men who've been driven out of their minds.
Creative works often resonate deeply, touching the raw nerves of human experience and challenging our preconceived notions. I think that creative individuals, regardless of the medium that they work in, are committed to the daunting task of holding up a mirror to the world. Meanwhile, the world does everything it can to avoid its own reflection, I think, out of the fear that it would destroy itself upon seeing the reality of its flaws and its actions. And in that regard, I think that creativity can be very dangerous because it is just as much a force of destruction. And I think creativity also perpetuates its own existence in that way.
Creativity is not a straightforward path to beauty. While it can lead to the frontiers of human progress, it can also lead to unfathomable darkness. The creator is a Jungian archetype that is deeply motivated by the longing to turn dreams into reality and bring structure to the world. But within this archetype, there exists a shadow aspect that can lead individuals astray from the practicalities of life. This detachment often results in neglecting important responsibilities as the pursuit of creative endeavors takes precedence. This unbalanced approach can have harrowing consequences, as some creators may abandon their moral principles in the relentless pursuit of their craft. Driven by their vision, they may start playing God, justifying any means necessary and imposing their own judgments on what they believe is best for the masses.
While some argue that the trope of the tortured artist is a myth, I would disagree. While certainly not every artist is tortured, I think that creativity necessitates a nuanced perspective of the world, and I think this perspective comes about by incessantly scrutinizing one's surroundings, which is not an easy thing to continuously be a part of, and I think it can lead an individual almost into a trance-like state. Nothing is simple for the creative mind. Everything is a door leading elsewhere, and I question whether there is a true resting place for the creative mind, except perhaps within the act of creation.
Sylvia, what about your childhood? Did you live in your imagination a great deal?
I certainly didn't have a happy adolescence, and perhaps that's partly why I turned specially to writing. As I wrote diaries, stories, and so forth. I was quite introverted.
The act of contemplation can unveil the darker aspects of the world, hidden from the ordinary gaze. Not only are creative individuals subject to the rejection of society, they're simultaneously anguished by their own limitations. Creative minds are haunted by an unattainable ideal.
But the curse of creativity is, I think, the compulsion to persist despite the agony that it engenders, because there is no peace of mind if one is unable to create, regardless of the burdens of creativity. It's a choice between sacrificing oneself for their work or living in a state of emptiness. That concludes my thoughts on the topic. As always, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and thank you to my top patrons.